What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about WB Games and if any of them are in trouble. Now, we've talked about kind of single examples of this before, but we have a new layer to add on to this, and that is yesterday, hopefully yesterday, depending on when you guys watch this, the Batgirl situation, right? So far in this merger that we've seen it seems like a lot of casualties in executives, right? A lot of executives swapping in and out, different things like this, Batgirl, the DC universe, the cinematic universe, HBO Max, a lot of things in that aspect of life, of entertainment, have been impacted so far. I think it's only a matter of time until the games start to get involved. And we've already heard, and we'll bring this into the conversation, we've heard about some of their own studios and some of the behind-the-scenes worries with their own studios, I guess maybe even before the merger, but definitely during it, right? So the Batgirl thing obviously is tragic in the way of, eating $90 million, and it's like, wow, that's a big thing to just take that. Then the question becomes, again, like they're significantly in debt. They have a lot of money they would like to gain back in some way, even though they did write the merger. I think it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it's like $3 billion. That could be wrong, but I feel like I remember the number 3 and the word billion. So the question is, what do you do with that number? How do you get there? Can the games help you in any way? In games, I mean, like the game studios, games themselves, can they help you get back any of that money? And so there's really only, in my opinion, well, I guess 3 ways. 3 ways you can do this, right? You can shut down studios. That would earn you money in a sense because you would be not having to pay the studio, but you would lose any potential profit you'd make from that studio and from that game. So you could shut down studios. Now, I am actually, and especially because of the Batgirl situation, I am slightly worried that could one day happen to one of the gaming studios. Maybe you just look at Warner Bros. Montreal and say, you're done, we're shutting you down. And I don't want to see people fired. The economy, right, is not doing very well. It's going to continue to do a lot worse. So I'm not really looking forward to that. And hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully that is the last option because, again, there's 2 others. Second thing you could do is sell them. So if you sold them, and we've talked about this before, if you sell the studios of, WB Games, what is now considered or has been considered, so I'm saying NetherRealm, again, WB Montreal, Rocksteady, TT, Traveler's Tale Games, which is the Lego, makers, right? You sell them. Well, what you're selling is just the studios. And I've talked about this before, that I feel like this could be the one hang-up and why they haven't sold anybody yet, is because the rule is when you're selling these studios, you're only selling the people involved. You're selling the workers. And I struggled. You could say other words of what that actually means, or what that, another way of saying it, but I'll leave that out. But I've said this before, if you're Sony, right, and you value Avalanche, the makers right now of Hogwarts Legacy, if you bought them, you're literally only buying Avalanche Studios. You're buying the team that created the game. So you're buying the talent, which is important. It's very important. But the thing to note that's different than a lot of other purchases that we've seen with Activision Blizzard and with a lot of other stuff, you're not buying any properties. So if you buy Avalanche, you are not buying Hogwarts Legacy. You are not buying the Harry Potter or the Wizarding World, would be more specific, the Wizarding World IP. That's still owned by, Warner Bros. Discovery, whatever they're called now, right? You have to go back to them and say, hey, we would like to work out a deal where we basically rent the license and we use it on an exclusive game for us because we bought Avalanche and we want to put them to work. So you'd have to do it twice, basically. You'd have to buy the studio, and then you'd have to not necessarily buy, you'd have to rent the license for whatever you want to do. We want to do a Batman game, so we have to go to them and ask them, sign the contract, pay them, and then we can do it. So it's almost, it's not necessarily double the price, but that's why I think there's a hang-up here, why these things haven't happened yet. But you could do that. You could sell them, and then you would make money off of the talent that you're losing. You, of course, wouldn't have the talent. You would, again, I assume, gain money through the companies coming back to you and saying, hey, we want to work on this property, so we'll give you some money. The third option is to keep the goddamn studios. Just keep the studios, and I guess you're banking off, or you're hoping for success, right? You're betting on yourself would be the line I guess I was searching for 5 seconds ago. You're betting on yourself. You're saying we believe that Gotham Knights can earn us more money than we put into it. Now the issue is every studio is kind of different, right? If you look at Warner Bros. Montreal or WB Montreal, that one's tough. Because in reality, and again, I don't know the money of it, but I mean, it doesn't seem great from the outside looking in. You look at that studio, haven't made a game since Arkham Origins. Yes, they've made games and they've all been canceled. So you're paying for these employees for all these years. You've got nothing. You've got no income coming, I guess, except for Arkham Origins continued sales, which can't be, I would say, enough to sustain that studio. And then now Gotham Knights comes out. So does Gotham Knights make enough to warrant 9 years of nothingness? Probably not. So again, does the new brass look and say, hey, we're sniffing out ways that we can save money, we're sniffing out ways to make more money, and this studio is not cutting it. Again, I just feel like the game studios are probably next, right? Because I feel like you can do something. Maybe you can't, but I feel like you can do something with WB Montreal. Now, I'm not saying shut it down. I actually believe in giving them a couple more chances. That's my own. Now, to be honest with you, I have a feeling that's not going to fly because, executives that don't have souls or don't have hearts, they're a little different than me sitting behind here, the screen, right? It's like I would let them do Gotham Knights, let them do that second game that they're working on, see the sales, and see if maybe they're worth keeping long term. Avalanche, I keep because you have Hogwarts Legacy. You make them have, you do Hogwarts Legacy 2 next. I mean, you slam dunk success right there. That studio, I think, is set. And again, I think that's why it's so popular. Rocksteady, let them do suit. But again, like each one's a different example. Well, Avalanche may be very much worth a lot of money to a lot of people because of the talent there, right? Rocksteady could also be worth the talent, right? Now, they haven't made a game since Arkham Knight. We'll see how Suicide Squad goes, but could you ship them out? NetherRealm. Now, NetherRealm's tough because I believe they own Mortal Kombat. NetherRealm themselves own it, not the higher ups. But they don't own Injustice. So again, you're doing the same thing. When you go to NetherRealm, if you buy them, and there has been rumors, by the way, that Microsoft has been looking to buy NetherRealm, right? So you buy NetherRealm, you're buying Mortal Kombat, but you're not getting Injustice. Again, you'd have to go back to the big boys and ask them, for the contract and to work on an Injustice 3. So that's another one. You look at TT Games, right, which has been that's been talked about quite a bit. And here's the thing, right, is like there seems to be issues throughout, not all, but I would say at least half, if not more, of these studios, right? Like NetherRealm, the rumor is they kind of want to make Injustice, but they can't because of the contract. And because if they're working on Injustice and they're sold midway through, again, the license does not carry through. They'd have to abandon that game. So that's a lot of money and resources wasted. So that is the rumor of why NetherRealm is not working on Injustice, which makes sense, by the way. From NetherRealm's point of view, that makes a lot. And even from Warner Bros. Discovery, that makes a ton of sense why you wouldn't do that, right? But it sucks for us because we don't get an Injustice game. Monolith seems kind of odd, right? Because like it took you forever. It doesn't really seem like you're all that far in the Wonder Woman game, but what have you been doing for the last 4 years? Because I think Shadow of War came out in 2018. That maybe is wrong, but I feel like it's been at least 3-4 years. Like, what have you been doing in that time, right? You probably had a canceled game in there. And now you're working on Wonder Woman. Now, again, that's a DC thing, so you're kind of stuck with Monolith now, unless you cancel it. You could cancel it and then sell them off. So each one, and then you have the Lego stuff, and maybe rumor is they're not going to do Lego stuff anymore, or they were literally trying to do games non-Lego because they themselves know, again, that kind of connection. So again, every studio's kind of messed up, and that's kind of the issue, right? But I just find it, again, I don't think I'm the only one saying it. I find it extremely hard to believe that you're not going to see something happen with at least a couple of these studios. I mean, I didn't list all of them. I listed most. I listed, I think, 5. I think they have, in terms of the big ones that we all know, there's 7 or 8. So I honestly could envision within a year or two, maybe NetherRealm, maybe you keep NetherRealm, maybe you don't. Avalanche, again, that one may, jump out at people. The Rocksteady WB Montreal one, I feel like one of them probably goes or gets shut. I really like WB Montreal. I just feel like is easily the worst one. I'm not saying it's the worst predicament. Like they're in the worst spot, right? Because Gotham Knights, it looks solid, but it may not look amazing to everybody. It's had mixed response since the beginning. It took them forever to get a game out, and whoever's fault that is. I'm not blaming actually anyone. I'm just saying, like, this is what's happened in 9 years. You haven't made a game. You're making a game now, but it hasn't gotten great response. We don't know how the sales are going to be. You're working on a second game. You know what I mean? You don't have a huge track record of games, period, unlike others in the fold. So, like, what happens with you? I think you keep them. I would keep them, but I'm not them. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so you know when all these videos go up. If you want to follow or support me anywhere else, all my social media is in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.